Hello, everyone. Hello again. If you're new here, hi for the very first time. And if you're not, hey, welcome back. my name Van Lynn. I don't know when's the last time I've said that intro. I've completely forgot what I usually say, and I had to look at a video because I'm brain dead at the moment. Anyways, I've been collecting a large quantity of Reddit stories, just soften the web, particularly Reddits. I have an enormous document full of links and attempting to separate them into somewhat of episode themes. I kind of just enjoy reading Reddit. The theme for this episode is going to kind of be like horrible husbands, which I will make a horrible wife one in the future if I can actually find them, because there's way more bad husband stories than there is bad wife stories. And a lot of the bad wife stories is just like, oh, my wife doesn't make my dinner for me. my wife doesn't clean the house, and we both work 50 hours a week. And I don't do anything. Like, I don't know, man. A bunch of stupid crap. So, first story. It's Am I the Asshole? It was deleted, but it looks like somebody backed up the story and just reposted it in the comments. So, this is the story. This is the story. I'm out of breath. Hold on. Am I the a-hole for kicking out my husband after reading his texts? Very nice. Back up of the post. I, 29 female, and my husband, 27 male, have been married for 3 months. Wow, congrats. We have a 3.5-year-old son together and had what I thought was a pretty nice life. Husband has been home injured from work for about 2.5 years now. He has a perforated disc at L5 and S1. That's like the way lower back. Okay. His recovery has been slow but progressive. At the stage he can walk, do light exercise, work on his car, drive places, and just has to go to Cairo once a week. Things are definitely a lot better recovery-wise than they have been over the last 6/12 months. 6.5 months? Our relationship has been rocky. We got engaged last May, and I had a freak out about the whole thing and decided I needed some space. While not my finest moment, we were so mature and calm when co-parenting. We made sure not to fight in front of our son, and eventually, with lots of late night talks, we worked on things and came back together. We had already booked some of our elopement and decided to stick to the original date, and therefore got married in October. Tonight, I was on his laptop sending myself a PDF I had just downloaded. I sent it via iMessage to my phone, and the message sent, I saw 4 messages to random unsaved numbers, starting with, quote, "Hey babe," unquote. Yikes. My heart was in my throat. As I read them, they all said the same thing. Quote, "Hey babe, do you send pictures or videos? I'm hard as a rock and need to come." End quote. Yikes, dog. I literally wanted to projectile vomit. I called him in and he just shrugged and said, "Yeah, I sent them a while ago." He didn't. They're all dated the last 2 weeks of December. One sent while we were at my parents' house 2 days before Christmas. Of course, I asked him to leave. I didn't yell, and he didn't seem to care. All he was worried about was when he'd see our son next. Okay, I'm questioning whether I'm an asshole or not, because is it technically cheating? None of them actually replied, but I Googled their numbers and their local escorts. Clearly, it's a boundary that he's crossed, and regardless of it, I don't think I'll ever be able to look at him again. I just went to consensus of the crowd. Currently, I haven't shed a single tear, which tells me I'm right in my decision and that he's disgusting. Any opinions are appreciated. Honestly, you're not an asshole because you found nasty text from your husband to literal escorts. You're not an asshole in any way whatsoever at any part in the situation. Don't let him come back. Pretty gross. Also, why doesn't he not care? He has no reaction at all. No guilt. I don't think there's any updates to that. Story number 2. My husband purposely hid my car keys so I would miss my job interview. Yep, that's cool. That's exactly what you should be doing for your partner if you want to live a long and happy life together and make money. I, female 25, I'm extremely pissed at my husband, male 24. My husband and I met in college and have only been married a little over a year. He's currently still in college pursuing his master's while I graduate with my master's last year. I've been looking for jobs, but it's been difficult to find one that pays well entry level. My husband has been extremely stressed recently. He's been studying his ass off and has taken a toll on our relationship. He comes home exhausted, he naps for hours, but he always insists on doing everything, and I mean everything. He insists on cooking, cleaning, so much to the point that I'm forced into saying, sure, but I don't understand why he keeps saying this. Maybe he's just stressed and he's trying to make it up to me by being extra nice. It's very weird. I don't understand why he's going to such lengths to please me when honestly I don't have a problem with him being burnt out from school. I recently applied for an interview for an entry-level job that paid well and was around 45 minutes from our apartment. I was very excited that me and my husband were finally going to have a stable income if the interview went well. But when I woke up this morning, my keys were nowhere to be found, not even the spare. They were completely missing. My husband was already at college by this point, and I knew calling him wasn't the right thing to do. I didn't want to inconvenience him. I didn't think he had anything to do with this anyways, and I was very wrong. You don't want to inconvenience him, but he definitely wants to inconvenience you. After hours of looking for my keys, I eventually called the company and told them I couldn't make it to the interview. They were understanding about it, but I knew I'd likely lost my chance to get the job. Why are you spending hours looking? If I couldn't find them within like 30 minutes, I would have called them immediately and be like, sorry, I'm unable to make it today. An emergency came up. Can we reschedule for so-and-so day? Even if it is a lie. Later, when my husband came home, he was holding my car keys. He told me he found them in his car and was unsure of how they got there. Sure. I was very confused and asked him a lot more questions, but he kept deflecting by telling me I need to keep better track of my things. I told him I missed my interview because of this and that I know I never misplaced both pairs of keys in his car. He eventually told me he purposely took them so I would miss my interview and not get the job. I feel so betrayed. I couldn't even say anything. We haven't spoken about it since it happened a few days ago. And I don't know why he would do something so controlling and unpredictable like that. Update, I'm currently staying at a friend's house and I'm working on ending things with him. Thanks for all the advice, everyone. Damn, I didn't even read the comments. Extra info, a lot of people have been asking why I didn't just call Uber or Lyft. To be completely honest, I wasn't even thinking of that. I've never used a rideshare app before and was so confused, busy looking for my keys. I probably should have used an app to get to the interview, but I wasn't thinking about it at the time. Also, 45 minutes is a really long time to be in an Uber or Lyft, in my opinion. I don't think I've used it to get anywhere more than like 25, 30 minutes away from the house. Yeah, the comments, intentional sabotage. He doesn't want you having any independence outside of him. This is the only red flag you need in this toxic relationship. Get out. Yeah, this goes like beyond controlling. Why does he want to I don't see the thought process behind that. Yeah, I don't see the thought process behind that at all. Why would you want your wife to miss a job interview and just not get a job for a degree that she worked so hard to get? You know, she has a master's degree. This next one, pretty long. Multiple paragraphs. Okay. Story number 3. Husband doesn't listen to me, doesn't seem to want to talk to me, and doesn't spend much time with me either. Okay. Leave, dog. That's not your husband. That's a stranger living with you at this point. My goodness. This has been an ongoing pattern for years now. We met and spoke online for years before meeting in person. We had proper conversations, though he did say that I talked more about myself than he did himself, and I didn't fully agree with that. We did a lot of arguing initiated by him. I tried to talk about my feelings, especially in regards to him or the relationship, and he'd go blank. For a while, he asked what's wrong and then told me all we talked about was me, my feelings, and I didn't care about him. Okay, was this before you got married? Or like after? He argued with me over not being sexual and my reasons why, eventually making me feel pressured to engage. A lot of our conversations were sexual and it seemed to be all he was interested in. He told me he was too depressed to talk for weeks, yet messaged me to speak sexually, promising me he'd spend more time with me after that, but then not doing so. Okay, this literally isn't your husband. This is just a random dude that just wants to fuck. He got upset with me for talking to my friends, calling them fake, and accused me of being able to replace people easily. He also got upset when I didn't respond fast or enthusiastically enough. Weird narcissistic behavior, in my opinion. When we met in person, he didn't seem interested in me in more ways than one. He spent time with me at first, but after a while, he stopped wanting to do things. Months into being together, I went back to the UK with him. I felt alone. It was a hassle to get him to do anything with me other than watch things, which he didn't always do. I'd have to ask to go on walks, and he'd agree, and then change his mind, and then promise to go the next day, but wouldn't. He wouldn't care that he upset me. I asked to take baths together, which didn't always seem interested in. When we did, he was glued to his phone, not talking to me, not listening. Why did you marry him? I'd sit there for an hour with him on his phone. I got upset several times. He told me he was going to put it down, but wouldn't. We went places and he was glued to his phone. As we walked around, I'd lose him because he wouldn't see that I had walked off. We would go for coffee and he'd be on his phone. I'd try to talk to him to no avail. I complained about it upsetting me and being awkward, and he acted like it was normal, pointing out that other people were on their phones. Okay. Or he'd say that what he was looking at was important, which it was sometimes, but he also said he just liked scrolling Facebook. Why are we with him? Again. He said that I was also on my phone, questioning why I was even bothered. Whenever I put my phone down to talk to him and picked it back up when it didn't happen, and after dozens of times getting upset over this, I gave up. I went to leave with our coffee right after getting it, and he asked me why and told me that he put his phone away. I had my phone out one of the times we were getting coffee, and he told me to put it away because it was awkward, and I did. He admitted he was a hypocrite. He later used it against me, saying I'd done the same thing to him. Why are we together? You sound like children. My goodness. It's always been a hassle to get to spend time with him, to talk to me. He doesn't seem to want to. He went weeks at a time, staying up all night, editing YouTube videos. Hey, YouTube. Or doing other things and not spending time with me. He called me codependent and needy for being upset over this, and I suggested I find my own hobby. He complained about not getting any space, when from my perspective, he was always getting space. On my birthday a few years back, he paid for an Airbnb for the night. He watched Elton John at Glastonbury and did so longer than he said he would. Okay. I asked him to at least sit out with me on the patio, and he didn't. I asked for him after he was done to take a bath with me. He said that he would, but after sitting in the bath alone for 20 minutes, I got out. Most of what we do together is watch things or play video games, and sometimes he doesn't seem interested in that. He will agree to do it, then won't, preferring to watch or play things alone, opting to do so after I've asked to do it together. For ages, we didn't go anywhere. He blamed it on various reasons, from sleep to lack of money, when he went places with others on little sleep. Honestly, you're just listing out more reasons to just leave this bitch. When what I wanted to do didn't require much or any money, I'd struggle to talk to him because of how glued to his phone he was. He would insist that he was listening, but then ask me to repeat myself and get frustrated with me for being upset and saying I was overreacting. He'd read comments whilst I spoke, and he would pick up his phone to check something, scroll Facebook while I was talking, yada yada. We've already brought this up. A majority of the time, the conversations about my feelings turn into arguments. He doesn't remember a lot of what I tell him. He's asked me several times if I liked certain foods. I've said I liked. I've never said that I liked. I said I didn't like, yada yada. We went to America last Christmas to visit family. He's always given more attention to my mother. Every trip, he talks to her more, follows her around in public. I try to talk to him just for a minute, and he'd say he can't talk to both of us at once before turning back to her. I got upset over this one time. I felt ignored, which resulted in him screaming and kicking things after I tried to talk calmly about it. Okay. During the last visit, he walked around with her in public and acted completely different with her than he does with me in public. He goes quiet on me, claims he dislikes talking around others, and constantly looks focused on other people, usually women. He didn't do that with my mother. He spoke to her and snapped at me many of the times I tried talking to him, telling me that he was overstimulated or had a headache. I did the same thing to him, snapping that I was overstimulated after speaking to my mother, and he told me not to. And I was just irked by it. When I didn't want to come back, as I usually don't, he begged me and promised to change several things he does, including listening to me. He swore he wouldn't be as glued to his phone. When he came back for a few weeks, he wasn't as glued to it, but when he picked it up when I was speaking and put it down a few times, one of the few times he said sorry, he wouldn't do it again, but he did. Okay, whatever. He did it again, told me whenever I got upset I was overreacting. Why we keep talking about him picking up his phone and he's just bringing. We've repeated the same thing in maybe the last 4 or 5 paragraphs. He made up for how awful my birthday was by offering to take me back to where we were and promised me not to do the same things, but then he did. He was glued to his phone, turns out. He bought a TV and wasted the little time we had on that. He's been on his phone less, but is often distracted by other things or distracted in general. Even when he's not doing something, he doesn't listen. Okay. Past 2 weeks, he's argued with me and appears more irritable. He's also listened to me less and spent, okay, yep. Yada, yada, yada. I've been upset over it and refused to repeat myself. He apologized for reacting the way he did. Okay. He's also said I'm not interested in what he has to talk about, and he criticized the things that I talk about and share with him even when I don't share. Okay. Why are we with him? I'm skipping so many parts of this because she just keeps repeating this over and over again. He's admitted before to not being able to multitask, to use his phone and listen, but then he says other times he can, though. It's obvious he can't. Skipping another big part of this. He got frustrated with me today for being upset and saying I felt he doesn't listen to me or talk to me. He kept saying that he does when okay, we just constantly repetitive. Dude sounds like he checked out of the relationship ages ago, but is too comfortable to actually end it. The phone thing especially. Who the fuck ignores their partner in a bath for an hour to scroll Facebook? Oh, literally. If I asked my husband to take a bath with me, he'd be on that shit immediately. He'd be soaping. He'd be soaping up and he'd be like, come here, baby. Yeah, it sounds like he was never actually in the relationship. I don't know. He's not really interested in you beyond sex, which is just weird, and doesn't talk to you, doesn't respond to you, gets upset. Sounds like he just kind of wants a fuck buddy next to him and to just, have you not talk to him. He'd be better off with a blow up toy, honestly. He's not a willing participant in this relationship. You can do much better. Time for you to move on. Life is too short to be with someone like this. Definitely. Dude's checked out, basically a live-in roommate that wants to fuck. He's not happy, maybe not happy with himself and everything, but he's surviving doing his own thing. I can assure you he's not happy. It's inconsequential. Who's at fault? Yeah, poor OP. I just don't get why he begs me to stay. He's done it so many times and tried to leave. Yeah, whatever. He's cried, apologized, promised to change. I've literally been with somebody like this. Literally, I've had an ex. It was online only, but I was planning to meet them eventually, but every time I tried to end things, it was always like, oh, I'm gonna KMS, or they beg and they cry, like, don't go. I'll pay attention to you, and then they don't pay attention to you, and you think that you're in a nice relationship for the couple of times they treat you good, but literally it's actually the 2% you're being treated nicely. The other 98% you're getting bitched at. Leave. All right. Last and final story after that absolute repetitive mess. My husband pushed my sexual boundaries too far, which before I even read this, I would like to say, even if you are married, there is still consent. If your wife doesn't want to do it, you do not push yourself onto her. Just saying, you are not entitled to her body. Once you get married, you don't own the person. You are in a partnership. All right. My husband pushed my sexual boundaries too far. I have been debating whether I should post this or not, but I'm really struggling to understand what I did wrong here. My husband, 24, and I, 22, were so young. We're separated for about 4 months for schooling reasons. A few weeks after he left for his training, he started to ask me if we could have threesome. Great. Because he wanted to explore his sexuality. I told him I would think about it because doing anything sexually with anyone other than my partner feels like cheating to me, which I explained multiple times before we got married. He kept bringing it up and I felt pressured to say yes to it even though I felt emotionally unsafe about the situation. Oh, this is crazy. You've had to explain to this multiple times before you got married and you still got married to this person after they're like, hey babe, let's do threesome. My response ended up being something like, let me see if I can come to terms with it. I will let you know when I would be okay with it. But I need to drop this conversation for now because it's causing me a lot of stress and I was feeling like I would never be enough for him. He continued bringing it up in each conversation I had with him for the next month. Each conversation? My goodness, get this marriage annulled. I continued to say I needed time because him continuing to pester me about it was making me feel more unsafe and like I won't be able to do it. He kept telling me that since I had done threesomes in past relationships that he deserves this and I should give it to him. Nope, you do not. You don't deserve it. The difference with the past threesomes was that we had no emotional attachments and I wasn't dating or married to either of them. Yeah. I always imagined after I get married that I would be able to just be with one person, be comfortable and grow old with each other. And those expectations were set before we talked about marriage. Okay. Those expectations were set, but you've had to explain to him multiple times before getting married your boundaries. After a while of him asking me about threesomes each day, he started to ask if he could go out and just try it once because it wasn't fair of me to make him be so sexually deprived all the time. He then started to tell me that he wanted to go out and sleep with someone and send him pictures of their dick. I told him I would never do that and I wouldn't want him to do that because being with anyone outside of partnership feels like cheating and it hurts my heart. But we could potentially have a threesome because I didn't want to keep him from figuring out that side of his sexuality. But I need to feel emotionally secure in our relationship first and wasn't feeling that way with how he kept pushing the boundary daily and not letting me get used to the idea at all. I went to visit him one weekend and I agreed to try to flirt with someone in front of him because he had asked me to. All I did was give flirty eyes and accept a drink from someone, and my ex-husband, what? Are you divorced? Divorced during this? My ex-husband called me a hoe and said I would just sleep with any man on the street. I was extremely confused by this because I only did what he asked me to, even though I was uncomfortable with it. Now I'm not even sure if I was being gaslit or if I was just doing something wrong in this situation. I'm struggling to feel like I'm enough for myself alone, feeling like I'll never be enough for anyone else. We should have still been in our honeymoon phase and he was already looking everywhere else for satisfaction just because we were apart for a couple of months. Should I have allowed the situation even though it hurt me to think about how he was so interested in everyone outside of our partnership? I think I should feel like I'm enough for my partner, but maybe that type of relationship doesn't exist anymore. Nope. He definitely was already treating, I assume, and then, I don't know. Yeah, I see no part of this post that is not a red flag. Constantly pushing you to do that, constantly pushing you like towards the situation, but then getting absolutely upset and then calling you a hoe afterwards. Yeah, someone said he most likely already has cheated on you and now has projected it onto you in some attempt to justify his infidelity. Honestly, your relationship was done and he wouldn't take no for an answer to a threesome and just kept pushing. This is a him problem and he knows it. Do not let him drag you down. Yeah, a monogamous relationship still exists. Another comment, it seems your husband got married and now wants to have a hoe phase. You don't see eye to eye with this, and obviously you don't owe him anything that you aren't comfortable with. It seems like you already did the right thing and divorced him. Now it seems time to move on, and I assure you that men who want the same thing as you are out there. Yeah. Me and my husband have been together married 5 years. I know damn well he's not looking at anybody else for satisfaction. And he doesn't push me to do anything either. Honey, throw this whole man away. He's trash. You did nothing wrong except for doubt your own boundaries. Yep. Yeah, that's not a husband. That's a bitch. That's a bitch. I swear. I'd say that concludes these stories, even though they were kind of not as much drama as prior ones. I'm trying. More BioShock coming up. Another BioShock video soon. Thank you for stopping by. If you enjoy gaming stuff, I'm live on Twitch sometimes at Vanlin. Though I am pregnant and tired, so schedule out the window. No schedule, just live whenever. So thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, mayhaps, and I will see you. I'll see you in the next one if you come back. Thank you. Brother, I'm so awkward. Okay, have a good day. Bye.